What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Takeover with your girl Shay McCray here on Fubu Radio. And of course, you already know what time it is. We are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee. What's up, B?
What up? What up? What up? We are back another week. I couldn't wait to get back inside the room on,
Really?
You already know, the Takeover with Shay McCray. Okay.
Okay, look. I love the haircut when we got a new hair. What we doing?
No, I don't actually.
Okay, it's still mohawkish.
It is actually, but I missed the barbershop last week, so I don't know what's happening.
It's growing.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's growing. Yeah.
Okay. I see what's going on.
But it's okay. I mean, I'm seeing more gray. Things are just changing.
It's a part of just wisdom. More wisdom, more grays.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do that right? I just wanted to make sure.
You did. And you looking fly. You got a new hairdo. It looks real cute.
Well, I finally permed it. I was natural for a very long time. So I finally got with the liquid crack. Like, thank you. And just trying to, I couldn't take it no more. I was like, no, I'm not with this. I sweat so much in my head, but hey.
I have a picture of you when you were rocking the fro for a little while.
Oh so my goodness, send that over. Send that over.
I am. So what's good? What did you do over the weekend? Like, what's up?
Nothing too much. Just going to classes and stuff. I'm not sure if you're aware. I've been taking acting classes and just to help with bag that I felt like that was snatched away from me through our dear loss, you already know.
Yeah.
And just trying to find ways to just move about and captivate on this world right now. We are still in a pandemic, as we all know. And it is hard, however, especially in my world, it is so hard to capitalize on anything that I'm doing because for one, people are still scared. Two, people are still moving about whether they're sick or not. And that's what's bothering me.
That's the scariest.
That is the most scariest thing to me because people are not saying anything. They feel like, oh, okay, boom. So you just definitely have to be careful out there. More and more people I know are being in the presence of those who are infected by COVID. And some people just don't know. It's just good. Thank you for the ones who are really telling us that they are. Okay. So that's all I can say.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah,
I mean, I know we're going to get into it with our special guest that's inside the room waiting for us. But I'm with you. Like this whole not telling folks and showing up and spreading the COVID pandemic or virus more. It's not cool. It is not cool at all. But I'm sure people have their reasons why, which I probably would disagree with. But nonetheless, we will, with our special guests, we have Chris Soto. He is going to be joining us really shortly and really talking about the vaccine, the masks throughout our schools, throughout the U.S. And let me rewind a little bit. Chris is like the senior advisor to the United States Secretary of Education.
That's amazing.
Dr. Miguel Cardona. And I'm really excited about this interview. And we're also going to talk about critical race theory. Y'all gonna learn something about that. And this nationwide tour of getting school districts back into the buildings. And so the secretary alongside Chris and others have been on this bus tour starting in Wisconsin. And so I can't wait to unpack all of this and to have a conversation with Chris.
That is awesome. Well, I'm excited to have him on because, of course, you already know we have a lot of questions with just the school opening it back up, just trying to get the students back acclimated in front of a teacher again versus in front of a computer. And there are a lot of concerns with parents. I'm not going to lie. So I'm so excited to have him on. Okay. So without further ado, you guys got time. Y'all make sure y'all tell a friend, download that Fubu Radio app. When we come back, we will have Chris Soto up inside the room. All right. Keep it locked. Don't go nowhere. Without further ado, I would love for Mr. Brandon McGee to introduce our guest, Mr. Chris Soto.
Thank you so much, Shay. You know how we do on the
Yes.
takeover inside the room with myself, State Representative Brandon McGee. I am very excited because I have not actually been in the same room with Chris in a long time because he's been busy helping save the world. For example, helping our children and families return back to school under his new role. But before I introduce him, I really want to thank United States Secretary of Education, Dr. Miguel Cardona, who, upon his appointment back in March of this year, 2021, Mr. Secretary joined us here on the takeover inside the room with myself. And I believe we were one of the top maybe dozen folks he interviewed with upon his arrival. So I'm really, really excited about that, and also to claim him as one of our very own from the state of Connecticut. He was our first Latino to lead the Department of Education right here in the state of Connecticut, and it's just an honor to see folks from our area be appointed by the president of these United States to lead our Department of Education. Having said that, he took a lot of great talent from Connecticut, and that of Mr. Chris Soto, former state representative of New London, and just doing some amazing work in the area of education. And I'm just so very, very excited that Chris, first of all, has the time to be on the takeover inside the room with myself. He currently serves as the senior advisor to the secretary at the U.S. Department of Education, and let's welcome him. I wish we had the little. I wish we had like the little clapping of the hands or the air horn. Oh God, the air horn. Chris, welcome, man. Talk to us a little bit about your new role and who you are and how you got into education.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here with you guys on Takeover inside the room. I feel like I made it. I'm here on the show. So, but no, it's great. I'm glad that we're opening this space to talk about education. I started my journey in education talking to a boxing coach one day, and he was talking to me about a student who had a full ride to college, and she couldn't basically go to college because her mother didn't know how to fill out the FAFSA paperwork, the financial aid paperwork. And that just really, I thought about my own educational experience and how I had people supporting me through that. And that really was the difference, right? This is a student who had higher grades than me, higher SAT scores than me, but she, for reasons that were outside of her control, she couldn't move on to higher education. I just thought that was really unfair. So, thought about how I can make a difference in that space, learned that there was a space called College Access, and was basically, I just got the bug to do that work. And so we started a small local organization helping first-gen low-income students navigate the college process, just leveling the playing field with, their rich peers from the suburbs around them. And then we expanded to another city, which had a lot of need in Willimantic. And, so that was pretty much how I got into education. And, it was probably one of the most fulfilling experiences that I've ever had. And then, I was elected and had the honor to serve with you in the General Assembly. And from there, was given the opportunity to join the Lamont administration when he became governor. And that was an interesting experience. I mean, I think, most of all, I missed education. Don't get me wrong, energy policy is important. Health policy is important. But I just missed education, and so I wanted to get back to education. And after leaving the governor's office, then commissioner was coming on board in Connecticut, and he said, look, I know you're leaving. I have this position that I want to start that revolves around college access. It revolves around workforce development. I'd love for you to join me on the team. That happened. Was living great, right? Like, I the work-life balance was great. I was doing the work that I enjoyed. And then, 4 months later, COVID hit. And so COVID hits, and for the majority of us, most of our primary work stopped, so we could figure out how we were going to respond to the pandemic. Yeah. And from there, that's when I really started to work closely with the secretary, or again, then commissioner, just helping us figure out what our reopening plan in Connecticut was going to look like, as every state was, putting out reopening plans. And so, we did that. That was, a great opportunity. I think we led we were one of the leaders in the nation as we reopened schools in Connecticut. And, needless to say, that caught the attention of Joe Biden's administration, because that was one of his campaign platforms. And so, he picked Commissioner Cardona to be Secretary Cardona. And, I'll never forget, it was the day of January 6th, which is the Capitol riot. So I get a call from the secretary, and he says, so he called, and I said, man, it's crazy, because I knew he was in DC that day, I think. And I said, it's crazy what's happening. And he said, I said, are you sure you're ready for this? And he said, no, are you ready for this? And I said, well, I guess we're having that conversation. So, so that's basically how that conversation went. And it's been a pleasure so far to be here in DC, working on federal policy. I'm doing a lot of work in Puerto Rico right now. If you think about the students down there, they've been through hurricanes, they've been through earthquakes and COVID. Some of those students haven't seen a classroom for 2 years. And, as we say, no other place on the mainland would this be tolerable. And so, there's no reason why we should tolerate it for the students of Puerto Rico. So that's been really fulfilling, hard work, but fulfilling. And then, most recently, I just got back from Wisconsin. We kicked off the Return to School road trip. And I'm sure we'll talk about that. A giant purple bus starting from Wisconsin. We went through Indiana, then through Ohio, and finishing up in Michigan. And so, that's been a fun tour so far, and they're going to finish up tomorrow. So
what state?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
What state are you in currently?
I'm in DC right now. Yeah. Oh
no, I'm at the bus.
The tour.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Today is Thursday. So
yeah.
I think they're in Michigan today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what's up.
I do have a question before you go
ahead,
on.
Shay.
I could take this one on. Thank you so much. The way he described you're saving the world, and I always say this to Brandon, like, I know you got to get out of here and save the world, because I'm definitely, he's helped me with the understanding of the politics and just so many things that's happening, just the laws and how it's unfolded. So with that being said, I know a lot of families were a little angry with even just the reopening of school, with the new variant that's taking a rise here in this particular season. Could you explain to us how important it is for our students to be in a classroom?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We want to minimize exposure, the exposure that students have, no doubt. But we know what works, right? Like in this time last year, we didn't have a vaccine. We didn't know how effective masks were. We didn't know about the different variants, right? And so we have a lot more information. We have a lot more tools at our disposal to help stop spread. And, one thing that we definitely learned was the negative impact with a lot of students learning from home, right? And how far behind students have fallen, especially when we're compounding that experience with under-resourced schools, right? And they were already behind in certain places. And so we know what an impact the pandemic had. And so, we've been adamant about trying to get students back in school, because we know for the most part, that's where they learn the best. And as long as we, have universal masks, for students that are eligible for the vaccine, again, these are all different legs of the stool that help keep students safe and help keep schools open.
But we can't move without, and Shay, I really appreciate you asking this question, because we can go to places like Texas and Florida and other places who are saying, y'all move forward, school districts, with a mandatory mask, wearing of masks. I'm going to take away salaries. I'm going to take away all of your incentives. How is your office handling, these folks who are pushing back and saying, no, this is our right? And you have an anti sort of vax mask groups throughout this country. How are you all managing that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is just the messaging, right? We've been trying to be out there as much as we can to say, look, get out of the way and let teachers teach, right? Let's not let politics get in the way of student success. So that's first and foremost. We need to just keep pushing that message. The secretary's been on as many national, outlets as possible, pushing that message. And then number two, we put our money where our mouth is, which is we're funding these districts through grants for any states or districts that have had funds taken away from them from the states. We're backfilling those funds.
That's good. That is good to hear. It's good to hear. I know here in the state of Connecticut, we're doing a fairly great job, I suspect, on, encouraging school districts to really encourage our parents and students to wear masks. I know in my child's school, it's valet drop off. And if you've got to go in, then you need to be wearing your mask. So that's good to know. Shay, you itching.
Yeah.
So I see.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm with it. I hate the fact that they have brought the politics into the learning of for our students, our children, should I say, because they still I understand the importance. I don't want to do sitting on a Zoom all day myself in a meeting. So let alone, I know the kids, the attention span is so short nowadays. So I can only imagine how hard that can be. And then the anxiety that they're experiencing, even just being at home all those days and hours and months. It's just but I got
a twist to it, Shay. One of the things that I'm nervous and really concerned about is the lack of remote learning options for those students who are exposed to a teacher that might come in, right? While the kids are wearing masks, they're still sending students home for 10 days to quarantine. So absent of remote learning, what are we doing to ensure those kids are not having learning loss that we talk about? What are we doing to ensure that teachers are being supported and they don't have these students that are all at different levels at the same time? So what's the conversation, really quickly, because I know we have to take a break, but what's the conversation been like?
No, that's a great point. And I think what that example shows is how COVID has exposed things that we never thought about in the past, right?
Right.
Having to provide and educate, you force a student home for health safety, but then you're still responsible for the education during those 10 days, right? And so I think that's one of the reasons why there was such an ambitious package passed by the administration and Congress, right, to support schools to do above and beyond, right, and to respond to COVID. So there's been rounds of funding. So if a school needed to hire another teacher, if the school needed to hire a small staff of remote staff that would handle these students, that's what those funds are there to do. Now, it depends on where you live and the state laws that kind of exist, whether or not the state is going to pass policies to do that. But the funds absolutely are there to do that. We see a variation that's not only between states, but within states, right? One school versus another school district. So we've been trying to push the message around best practices that work. And I think you bring up a great one around kind of that need to continue the education, even though we're sending students home because of health and safety.
Yeah, good point. We need cameras and maybe Zooms. I'm not sure, but you guys keep it locked. Don't go nowhere. When we come back, we will have more with Chris Soto. Welcome back to the Takeover with Shay McCray here on FUBU Radio. And of course, we are inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee and of course, Mr. Chris Soto. If you guys missed the first half, this is some good stuff. And just to even reiterate the students who have to quarantine for 10 days who was missing out on education, they're still getting pamphlets sent home though, right? Like they're still getting their work sent home.
I give credit to a lot of our school principals, school staff here in the state of Connecticut, and I'm sure in Atlanta, they are literally going above and beyond and making sure students are prepared. So they have purchased iPads and laptops just in case children don't have, these resources so that they can remain, connected with the class. So there are some things being made to support students. And I'm just excited and happy that folks like Chris Soto, Senior Advisor to U.S. Secretary of Education, Cardona, and others are really supporting our school districts. But I want to pivot. And I want to jump into this debated conversation around critical race theory. What is critical race theory? It's a body of legal scholarship and academic movement of U.S. civil rights scholars and activists who seek to critically examine the intersection of race and U.S. law and to challenge mainstream American liberal approaches to racial justice. In essence, a tenet of CRT, which is critical race theory, is that racism and a disparate racial outcomes are the result of complex, changing, and often subtle social and institutionalized dynamics rather than, let's just say, explicit and intentional prejudices of certain individuals. And there's a major pushback, literally. School districts, individuals are saying, we don't want to talk about what happened. We don't want to talk about slavery. We don't want to talk about none of that. I don't want to talk about it. Can we move forward and talk about the good of America? Now, I know if you've been watching Instagram, you've seen how America has treated Haitians, but I digress. Mr. Senior Advisor to Dr. Cardona, what's been the response to critical race theory? I'm sure it's been coming up throughout the districts, or throughout the world, I should say, not district. I keep bringing you back to Connecticut.
No, absolutely. This has come up as one of the kind of hot button issues this school year. And I think we need to kind of just step back, right? I think that, again, in the same way that vaccines and masks have been politicized, this conversation around critical race theory has been politicized in ways that are just unproductive. You perfectly laid out what that definition is. Let's think about kind of the age appropriate conversations that teachers are trying to have in their school, right? They're not talking about legal frameworks with a second grader, in terms of ways that people are trying to characterize this, right? They're just trying to say, you know what, it's important that our country has, that we recognize the leaders that we have that look like you, that you feel comfortable in your skin, that you're learning the history that is appropriate and that maybe has been forgotten. And again, this is age appropriate. So maybe that's happening at second grade, and maybe we're having, more intellectual conversations at the high school level, right? Where we talk about the intersections of race and health, and food insecurity and housing, right? And so I think that teachers need to be given more credit based on the work that they're doing, and not having people who are watching cable news criticizing them for the hard work our teachers are doing in dealing with the pandemic. And so we support, the work that teachers are doing to ensure that they're giving students an accurate picture of what history looks like and how that's impacted different communities of color in our country, right? This is American history, whether it's it's bad, it's ugly, it's nice, it's American history, and such. That's how we're approaching this. But again, let's not conflate those conversations, those age-appropriate conversations that teachers are having, with kind of the legal framework that's being portrayed in terms of as if a teacher is going to really be doing kind of having these legal conversations. So it's unfortunate, but I think I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, and I'm happy, first of all, with the response, but secondly, I'm glad that you're able to differentiate sort of the argument, right? And the argument is, we're teaching all these young children about the legal framework of everything that you just said without having to repeat it. But in fact, it's age-appropriate curriculum that we're introducing our students to, and you sort of got to block out all of the noise from the political commentary and those on this side versus those on the other side, and know that this is a part of our history, age appropriately, and it's just important that we keep that in mind. So Chris, I know you gotta get back to helping the secretary but it is National Hispanic Month. I'm afraid, actually. Can you school me? So I'm afraid to say Latinx because a lot of my friends from Puerto Rico or from Dominican Republic, anywhere, they don't like that term. Can you quickly educate us real quick on like why, and then in Spanish say whatever you got to say to our listeners that are listening?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. There was recently some data that came out around how Hispanics, Latinos, Latinx folks prefer to be identified, and it runs the gamut, and I think part of that is generational, right? We find older Hispanics preferring the term Hispanic. You kind of find like that Gen X or millennials are preferable to maybe Latino, Latina, and then we kind of see a younger generation kind of skewing towards Latinx. I think it's whatever people are most comfortable with. I personally identify as Latino, but I think we have to get away from criticizing and dividing within.
Right.
People try to create these arguments within, and we are an evolving community, an evolving population. Things are going to be different from one generation to the next. So I think there's data that shows what people prefer, but at the end of the day, it's a personal choice, right? There's not one that's preferred over the other, But I thank you for raising the fact that it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and we're proud of the diversity that Hispanic and Latino populations bring to, particularly, in the context of this conversation, that they bring.
That's right.
That they bring to our schools. We know that our country is stronger because of it, and we just need to be unapologetically us, right?
Yes.
If however you self-identify, whatever ethnicity you identify, I think part of that is embracing that superpower that we have that makes us different, right? And if anything, it makes us even better in our workspaces. It makes us better as students, and hopefully it helps us educate others.
Well, do me a quick favor. Say something in Spanish, please. So maybe it could be thank you for joining the takeover
of course.
With Shay McCray inside the room with State Representative Brandon McGee.
Bueno, gracias a todos. Estamos celebrando el mes de la herencia hispana, y también muchísimas gracias a la bella Shay y mi amigo Brandon McGee, que es como un mentor, que es un representante estatal que me ha enseñado mucho, pero gracias a ustedes, Inside the Room, estamos dentro del cuarto, y así es. Muchas felicidades y gracias por todo.
Gracias. Shay, take us out.
Look, I'm still like, look, I can understand it, but it takes me a minute to interpret the language. I'm like, yeah, I heard you, yo. Today, right now, take over. But I love it. Thank you so much for just sharing your thoughts with us today, and I appreciate that. And just your opinion and your answers just meant a lot, and I could see the passion that you have just for the education part of just department of just our country alone, because it is still a major part, because they're not getting what we got, and I guess that's telling our age right there. But and I'm personally don't think
your age. I'm young.
I personally don't think it will ever get back to that, but we definitely need to regain structure within the school system. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, B. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in here on The Takeover. Keep it locked. Welcome back to The Takeover with your girl Shay McCray and Brandon McGee, as we are inside the room. And if you just tuning in, you missed an amazing interview with Chris Soto. Thank you so much, Brandon, for bringing your dear friend. When he said amigo, that meant he said my friend Brandon McGee. Did you know that part?
I did. I took honors Spanish.
It's me. But yeah, that was awesome. And thank you so much for just bringing him on. And what's your thoughts?
But you know
everything?
What? I mean, Shay, just the fact that we were able to bring on a sitting U.S. Secretary of Education upon like his first month being appointed by the United States President Joe Biden. Like, that's powerful. And now to have his senior advisor to him come on our show is absolutely amazing. And it speaks to what we're doing, right? And making sure we're bringing on people who can communicate and share relevant information that our folks want to hear. I just can't wait until we put in place. It's definitely relevant. Yeah, I just can't wait till we put in place opportunities for a lot of our folks to just ask real-time questions of our guests. But we're gonna work it. We're gonna work that out. Yeah, we gotta get that out. We will. But you know what's really striking, and we probably need an entire show for this, is really unpacking the critical race theory, because that thing strikes a nerve in me every time I talk about it. But anyway, I digress. There's one thing that I really want to end off this week. There was a comedian that passed. What's his name? Yep, AJ Johnson. Yeah, from the Friday movie and others. But yeah, so anyway, special prayers to his family and all of his following and fans, etc. We're praying for you. But I really wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening with Mario Peoples as well. Father passed away. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, no. Acknowledge that. No. Thank you, thank you. And I'm sure there were others that we're forgetting. But oh my God, when I saw that, I was like, really? Oh, and Sarah Dash, is that her name? She was a part of the Patti LaBelle group. Yes, I saw that too. She passed as well. And then for my church folks, Mother Gertrude Stacks, Dr. Stacks, she passed away as well. Only the church people probably get that, but still, she was a mover, a shaker, and a giant in the faith community. So we're praying for all of our loved ones and friends who transition. But I really wanted to highlight, number one, my frustration, but two, what's happening with our Haitian brothers and sisters. And if you have seen the news, you've seen the memes of one of the U.S. Border Patrol folk on a horse with a whip, literally whipping individuals trying to basically, come over to the U.S., and really find safety because of what's happening in Haiti. Now, Shay, if you recall, you and I, we are one of the ones that shared with a lot of folk the assassination of the Haitian president and what's been happening in Haiti. And this is just a result of what's taken place. And it's absolutely absurd what we're seeing. It's inhumane. And I've never seen it. And I want to say I need U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. I need her to step up. I need President Joe Biden to step up. And they need to do something about this, because just treating people really the way that they're treating, it is sad. It is awful. And I do feel for it, let alone, no matter where they come from, anyone should be going through this. It doesn't even matter your race. No one should be treated of this type of terror or disheartening treatment to them. It's just bad. So thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate it, B. Yeah. And, I'm praying for the Haitian Prime Minister, Henry, I think is his last name. He needs to make a bit more of some noise, but he's barely discussed the explosions that's been happening in public, and saying only that his government is worried about the condition that migrants face on the U.S. border, and that it will help those sent back to Haiti. And I'm just like, I'm gonna get my facts straight before I went to tap on that, but I thought he was under investigation for something. But before we get into that, we'll come back and talk about that next week. Cause I thought so. Okay, I thought so. I was just making sure, but we'll get the facts straight. So, Also, I just want to make note. Just want to make sure that please keep those in your prayer. Those immigrants and the ones. Let's just find some resolution to this. We understand that we cannot just let them all in, but it's something we can do. I mean, the amount of money that we're spending to even send them back we could have put them up somewhere. I don't know. So Well, just one last thing. The
Scared.
U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti resigned over migrant explosions.
Woo! See what I'm
So we'll talk
saying?
about that. We'll talk about that.
Mm,
We'll talk about it.
because it's some stuff, they be, how they stuff down the pipeline. People try to get up out of there before it's exposed, bam. Now let me quit. But thank you so much. Also, we will make sure that we follows Chris Journey, Chris Soto. Those who are in Connecticut is very familiar with him. So y'all make sure y'all follow him. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it.
Make sure y'all follow me. I need to get my numbers up because y'all know Shay said I only had 500 followers with a blue check. Whatever.
That's okay. That means you're still relevant with the blue check. Okay. So y'all make sure y'all follow Official FUBU Radio on FUBU, as well on Facebook, FUBU Radio, and follow myself, Shay McCray, on all social media platforms. By the way, too, I have picked up your league and I am now on Spotify.
Okay.
So if you go to Spotify, you can Google Shay McCray or type in the artist Shay McCray, because I'm serious about mine. You know what I'm saying? So I'm on iTunes, Apple, Google, all of them now. Everything.
Okay.
So Pandora. So yes, I have been working hard behind the scenes to get my things. I'm trying to get a blue check too. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, be relevant around these parts of the world.
You almost there. I'm
almost there. So thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. I really appreciate it, and we appreciate the shares. All right. So until next time, it's your girl Shay McCray here on the FUBU Radio, baby.